What's up, guys? It's Benny. Something extremely sinister, dark, and evil is happening in the state of Minnesota, and we're not getting the full story. Something isn't adding up here, and it's time to talk about it because lives could be at risk. There seems to be a massive cover-up, or something much darker going on. Here's what we know. A man wearing a Walter White mask showed up wearing a fake policeman's uniform and tactical gear, driving what looked like a police car. You can see right here in the ring camera footage, the police lights outside of the home. This man's wearing a very, very creepy mask. And I say this man because, well, there's a lot of suspicion as to who actually was this person, because we just don't know, actually. This was a Walter White mask. This was clearly an homage to the famous Walter White scene in Breaking Bad where he says, "I am the man, I am the one who knocks."
Don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
So this is the most famous line in all of Breaking Bad. It's a very popular show. It's listed as the #1 TV show of all time by IMDb. Well, anyway, the point is that this was clearly somebody LARPing, right? I am the one who knocks, because he showed up as Walter White, and then he ended up killing the Speaker of the House in the state of Minnesota, somebody who just taken a principled stance voting against, the only Democrat to vote against criminal aliens having access to free healthcare, something that, the perpetrator, the suspect at least, was involved in. But anyway, the point is that everybody's saying, all right, this is a little creepy, but like, what happened next? Because police officers confronted this individual at the house. Look at this. This is the front door right here of the home. This is the front door of the house. The cops blew that door to smithereens. Look at all these bullet holes. I can count a dozen bullet holes inside of the home. They confronted him while he was walking out of the house. Listen.
Extensive manhunt involving hundreds and hundreds of police officers and SWAT teams searching, gridding off areas, as we believe confidently the suspect had fled out the back of the house after being confronted by the police. Very briefly, after the officers had exchanged gunfire and the suspect retreated into Melissa's home, they immediately went up to the threshold and looked in and seen a male that was down, clearly had been struck by gunfire. They made a limited penetration, grabbed a hold of the male and drug him out to safety to attempt first aid. However, he was pronounced dead shortly after that. At that point, the officers surrounded the house, got additional resources and SWAT resources, and then ultimately went in with a drone identifying a female in the home.
So you're telling me that an entire SWAT team and a bunch of police officers literally exchanged gunfire with the perpetrator here, with the murderer, and he was able to flee, and they were able to effectively just let him go. So he just committed murder. They know he wasn't a real cop. He was in police uniform, and he had a police vehicle, and they had seen that there was a murder at the home, and they just let him go. They shot this many rounds at him, and he was able to nimbly flee and get away from officers. This has got to be like a trained assassin. This has got to be somebody who's like, Vance Bollinger is the name of the individual who they've named as the suspect, the lead suspect here. But here's the most recent photo of him. This was taken the morning of the murders. This is what he looked like in the last known photograph of him, the morning of the murders. He's like fat and out of shape. Got a big like jowl line. He actually doesn't really resemble a lot this individual. I mean, it's not great photographs, but doesn't make any sense. Vance Bollinger dodged all of these bullets at the residence, ran through the house, out the back door, eluded police. The guy below did this entire thing. This guy who doesn't look like he could run up a flight of stairs. Huh? Also, wait a second. He was married and he had 5 kids. So what happened? You just abandoned all your kids? I mean, it's Father's Day, right? Like, I'm a dad. You're just going to abandon your kid? Like, is there any motive here other than the guy snapped, lost his mind? You have a beautiful family. You just abandoned your children. None of this makes any sense. Everyone's starting to say, like, what? So he's a 57-year-old. He limps when he walks. What you can see here is the last known video of Vance Bollitter. He's the individual that they say did this. They said that he outran a SWAT team and cops on foot. And then, as you can see here in this footage, you can see Vance Bollitter smashing into the window of a car around 6 a.m. This is him. It's very suspicious. It's strange behavior. But and then here he is wobbling through the car, like wandering through the vehicle. What is this exactly? What's going on? It's very strange behavior. How did the mask shave off so much weight and make him so short? Vance Bollitter is 6'1", 220 pounds. The guy in the image is a foot and a half above the door handle, like maybe 5'6". Not to mention, he's fit. Smells fishy to me. I mean, look at this side by sides. Look at these side by sides. This looks strange. I mean, listen, I know they're odd camera angles, but actually they're very similar camera angles. Like up high, the camera's up high, looking down. I don't know, man. It's strange. Doesn't look like the same build to me. But then, wouldn't you know it, ladies and gentlemen? Wouldn't you know it? Cat turd. I expect a false flag event today. Well, look, just on the side of the road, nobody was asking, nobody was looking, but they were able to find his cowboy hat. Huh? Well, would you look at that? Vance Bollitter's cowboy hat just happened to show up on the side of the road. There it is. Breaking news. We found his hat. There's his hat. Are you connecting the dots yet? They think we're stupid. Look at this. This is starting to run the course of a Scooby-Doo episode. Next thing you know, they're going to be an investigator following clues with a big magnifying glass. That's not the same person. This is a 300-pound man, and that's what everyone's saying. What is this? Nobody's quite sure what the hell's going on here, but okay, they just find his cowboy hat, but we haven't gotten to the crazy stuff yet. Look at this. Minnesota assassin Vance Bollitter's wife detained after traffic stop. She's carrying a bunch of passports and weapons. The wife of Vance Bollitter had been detained, questioning after cops found weapons, ammunition, cash, passports in her car at a traffic stop. Her name's Jenny Bollitter. She was stopped, and then she wasn't detained. Are you kidding me? 2 cruisers. Bollitter was held for questioning. She was not arrested. They let her go. What? It's not clear whether the Bollitters lived with each other. Vance Bollitter was known to live at a residence in Camden, Minnesota, which was raided by SWAT. The couple previously ran the company Praetorian Guard Security, which is where many say that he got the security material. Minnesota gunman's wife was pulled over. She had a car packed with cash and guns and ammo and passports, and they let her go. Vance Bollitter's wife pulled over with weapons and ammo and cash and passports, and the cops did not detain her. See ya. Let her go free. What? Now, this is being reported that Vance Bollitter's wife was pulled over and detained. I am a little skeptical of both sources, but indeed, this is a very interesting development, if true. It looks like, maybe were they trying to make a run for it? I'm not sure. Yes, in a 4-hour window, the wife goes to the bank, drains $50,000 on a Saturday morning. What banks are even open on a Saturday morning that could give you that kind of money? She drives 2 hours across Minnesota, carrying passports, weapons, and ammo. Husband is cleaning up the evidence at 6 a.m. Again, makes no sense. She would have had to be at the bank at opening to pull this off. What bank was this all withdrawn from? Everyone's saying the timeline makes no sense. No bank lets you withdraw $50,000 without notice. The money would need to be ordered ahead of time. Yeah, it's very strange. Sources say this video shows Vance Bollitter wearing a cowboy hat, leaving North Minneapolis home at around 6 a.m. this morning. He then breaks out of the window of the car and then walks away from the scene. So don't worry, he's just going and committing crime. He's just committing crimes for no reason. I mean, as we said, this just makes no sense. I'm not saying people are actively lying to us, or that I know more than the authorities. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to sow confusion here. I'm trying to say none of it makes sense. Why would this guy, having just committed a bunch of murders and he just got into a firefight with the cops and was able to escape on foot? He was able to escape from the SWAT team on foot. He's just committing like random, destruction of property. That's just what he's doing. He's just vandalizing randomly for fun, like just to get people to pay attention to him. Like, this is making sense. SWAT teams were then called to a vehicle. They apparently found the abandoned vehicle. They're checking houses and garages. This is allegedly the vehicle that he used. Again, it does resemble a cop car. They were, he was a security guard. He was a security guard, and that was what he did professionally. Residents were told earlier today that Vance Bolter's vehicle was located. Law enforcement will be searching local properties in a massive manhunt to apprehend Bolter. It's very, very strange. They found out that his wife interned for Tim Walz, and of course he served on a board with Tim Walz. So like that, Tim Walz appointed him to a board, and his wife was an intern with Tim Walz. So Tim Walz, the governor, definitely knew him and has deleted all posts on X where he mentioned his name, which is very, very strange. A political connected security contractor rolls up in fake cop gear, driving a mocked-up armored vehicle, and assassinates Democrat leaders on the morning of No King's Day and an ICE riot. Are you really buying this? No. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's just really strange. It's just really odd. In what world is this something that makes sense? But like, I guess, like, who would be setting all this up? Here's the real red flag: the speed of response. Media, politicians, law enforcement, all singing from the same songbook. The ink of the police report wasn't even dry. We've seen the script before. January 6th, Whitner, Fednapping, rinse and repeat. Meanwhile, ICE is finally doing its job, and No King's Day threatens to unify people against the establishment tyranny, both left and right. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a new enemy is some guy who looks like a conservative, smells like a vet, driving a fake police vehicle. This isn't about Bolter, it's about control. They're trying to paint a target on the back of anyone who questions the system. I don't have the answers, neither do I. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I know more than the authorities. What I'm saying is that it just doesn't make any sense. You can see it with your own two eyes. Unearthed video shows Minnesota shooting suspect dancing in religious ceremony as links to Africa revealed. Yeah, as we've said, he was a Africa advocate. He advocated on behalf of more African immigrants, more African migrants to Minnesota. This is what he did. Here you can see him here. And then you can see whatever this is. So many people saying maybe that's why he was upset about these votes. I don't know. It's just pure speculation at this point. Bomb squad rushes to Minnesota assassin's abandoned car as gunshots are heard near marital home. So neighbors are reporting gunshots outside of his house. There were reports of gunshots in the early hours. What are the chances that this guy, Clinton's himself, right? What is the chance this guy gets the Clinton treatment, right? Don't worry. He was just found like he committed suicide, right? He just had 20 shotgun shells in the back of, in his spine. That's just how it worked. It's just too bad. It's been ruled a suicide. Incredible. So what's going on? There just seems to be a lot of misinformation out there about this stuff. There's the Papa John's pizza guy, saying he was a Trump supporter. He was definitely a Trump supporter. He's a Trump supporter? Really? Really? They found some roommate, high school buddy of his. What do you mean high school buddy? The guy has a family, 5 kids. What are you talking about? Some roommate. He's a Papa John's delivery guy. And he's saying that he was definitely MAGA. This guy, he's definitely MAGA. He was a MAGA supporter. Dude, he worked with Tim Walz. His wife interned for Tim Walz. He was running progressive nonprofits for the relocation of African immigrants to Minnesota. These are not conservative things that you do. Tim Walz was the vice presidential candidate for the Democrat ticket, and he's serving with him on a board. Tim Walz signed his name. His wife. What's up with these bullet holes all the way over on the left by the door handle. Yeah, what is this? So he was able to survive this like hail of bullets, like out of a comic strip, and then run away on foot. Minnesota officials are refusing to release the manifesto. Well, would you look at that? Well, now you do have a cover up because if you're refusing to release the manifesto, it says it doesn't contain anything meaningful. Well, then release it and get rid of it. Tell us. Now you have like an official cover up. Minnesota officials say the suspect, Vance Bollinger, has been in contact with individuals, but won't say if he's receiving any assistance. Why won't they say it? None of it makes any sense to me. All of it seems very mysterious and suspicious. That's all. Just give us the official story on this and a ton of other stuff. But like the authorities always, whether it's January 6th or Whitmer Fed mapping or whether it's Epstein, they're always hiding the truth. It's always the case. They're always giving you like what was the last time you actually got a manifesto, right? From one of these criminals? You don't. Here's the update, ladies and gentlemen, from the authorities in Minnesota.
And 32 hours and counting now since the tragedy unfolded for two Minnesota lawmakers and their families. We continue to follow the latest of what Governor Tim Walz has called from the very start a politically motivated assassination of Speaker Emeritus Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, along with the attempted assassination of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Here's a timeline of how this first day yesterday unfolded. It all started around 2 o'clock Saturday morning when a 911 call was made in Champlin. Police responded to Senator John Hoffman's home and found he and his wife Yvette had been shot. Both were rushed to the hospital and underwent surgery. Then about an hour and a half later, Brooklyn Park Police proactively went to check on Representative Melissa Hortman's home. There they found a man dressed as an officer with a fake police vehicle. The suspect shot at officers and ran away. By 5:30 a.m., a shelter-in-place alert was sent out by Brooklyn Park Police telling anyone within a 3-mile radius of the Edinburgh Golf Course to stay in their homes. At about 6 o'clock Saturday morning, the suspect stopped by a home near 49th and Fremont in Minneapolis, where residents say he rented a room. Security cameras capturing new images of the suspect dressed in casual clothing with a cowboy hat.
We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota.
At 9:45, Governor Tim Walz announced that Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark, were both killed in what he's calling a politically motivated assassination. At 11 o'clock, authorities and the governor urging people to not attend any scheduled rallies until after the suspect is in custody. An hour and a half later, officials in Champlin said there was no current threat to the public. Then by 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the Associated Press identified the suspect as 57-year-old Vance Luther Belter. The scene at the Hoffman's home in Champlin was cleared by 1:30. Around 1:45, the Minneapolis home where Belter rented a room was searched by investigators. Then by 3 p.m., authorities confirmed Belter as a suspect in the case and asked for the public's help in locating him. At 3:20, nearly 12 hours after officers first encountered Belter, Brooklyn Park authorities lifted the shelter-in-place order, believing he is out of that immediate area around the Hortman home. At 3:50, the Hennepin County Medical Examiner confirms both Melissa and Mark Hortman died of multiple gunshot wounds. It was around 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon the FBI announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Belter. By 9 p.m. Saturday night, family members confirm Yvette Hoffman is awake and alert.